Hey everybody, welcome back to another fantastic, hopefully, lore episode. We're back once more, ready to traverse the lore super highway and pipe it directly into your minds for better or worse. We're gonna slip right in there, huh? Huh?
Hey.
Starting strong. We have the whole crew for this evening. Myself, obviously, you know me by now. If you don't, what's going on? How many have you listened to? So easy mode, ready to bring the lore directly to you with the dulcet sounds of my voice. Joining me this evening, I have with me one of my intrepid co-hosts, Austin. Austin, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, good as always. Here for the lore. Come for the lore and stay for the slippery.
And we have our other intrepid host joining us this evening. Karma, how are you doing?
I'm doing it. I'm actually going to start us off with a hot take. Not
Oh,
even related to Shadowrun. I just feel like I want to say it. I
okay.
think Elden Ring should get Game of the Year again. I think the DLC is that good. I think they should win Game of the Year again. Hot take. The DLC was that good. Give it. It's fine. The rest of the games on that list, almost all of them suck.
Fleet tangent. Just plug Elden Ring on the podcast
Hey,
for
sponsored
no
by Elden
reason.
Ring.
Not even. We're not even sponsored by FromSoft. No, we have no affiliation. I feel like I need to put these disclaimers in every time you bring something like this up. I appreciate it though.
Yeah,
Sure.
no problem.
Elden Ring. I didn't even look what else is for Game of the Year. This
Look,
It's all right. They're all bad.
all I'm
okay.
gonna say in relation to that comment is I don't feel like you can qualify a game of the year for something that is not a standalone product. And that is my
Ooh.
issue with it. Every other game that's nominated on that list, you can buy and you can play it. But Elden Ring, not only that DLC not only requires you to already have Elden Ring purchased, but also be a pretty decent way into the game to even access that content. So I feel like that is prohibitive to the point that yeah, that's yeah, I don't agree. I
Mm,
disagree on that one,
mm.
buddy.
Well, for all of our fellow video game enthusiasts that happen to listen to us, let us know your take. We'll, you know,
Hmm.
we'll
Yeah.
hear what you have to say about it since we started this evening with a tangent. We didn't even get to the topic, and we're already on a tangent. Thank
Also,
you, Karma.
also,
Hey, no problem.
Metaphor Refantasio for Game of the Year. Just throwing that out there too.
Okay.
That's since we're already talking about it. I'll just put that out there.
One game on that list I haven't heard of, by the way.
Haven't even
I feel,
played it. Wanted to throw it out completely. Said all the other games were garbage.
I
Not even playing it. Fantastic.
I feel like that just means you
Hottest
need
of
to.
hot takes.
I think that just means you need to play better games, Karma. I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
No, fair enough. I did just get done playing League of Legends. So yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay. So, how about the actual topic for this evening? What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
sure.
Oh, all right, all right.
All right.
So this one has been hotly requested over and over and over and over on our Discord. I'm looking at specific names that I won't mention currently, but you know who you are. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna try and tackle it as best as I can. We're going to talk about Denver.
Where
Dun,
nothing bad
dun.
has ever happened.
Nothing
Yeah,
bad has
no,
ever
Denver's great.
happened in Denver. It's a fantastic place. Denver is actually part. A lot of people just think that it's just Denver. Like that's that's the metroplex, right? But technically, Denver is in the Front Range Free Zone,
Oh, huh.
the FRFZ for those playing at home with your acronyms. And
No, that's
it's
cool.
it's it's important to know because it encompasses a very large area. And we get here pretty early. This happens very early on in the Shadowrun timeline. What we have is the Treaty of Denver. And this is what starts to make it so important. So we start with the treaty, and obviously we're going to talk about it right now. It is the document that ceded land from the United States and Canada to the Sovereign Tribal Council, which officially establishes the NAN, the Native American nations. It also establishes the Front Range Free Zone, City of Denver, and the extraterritorial Free City of Seattle. That's how important this whole document is. You also have to take into consideration that it was from the United States, but also Canada, so you had to bring both entities to the table to be able to have this negotiation. The treaty itself was basically a terms of surrender that granted lands formerly under the jurisdiction of both the US and Canada to the Armited tribes. It was signed January 25th, 2018. So one of the earliest things to happen that was very significant that sets up the Six World timeline. The treaty itself is only 10 pages long.
Wow.
But the corresponding legalese and amendments that are attached to it supposedly make up an additional 50 gigapulses of memory.
Jesus.
And to translate that into our modern day terms, I'm pretty sure a gigapulse is about a gigabyte. So 50 gigs of extra memory on top of the 10 pages.
It was honestly more impressive before you described how big it was.
Oh, did you like gigapulses better?
Yeah.
Gigapulses sounds cool. Yeah.
Let's start a whole trending right now, guys. We're gonna try to get gigabyte changed to gigapulse.
Yeah. Worldwide.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it worldwide. We're gonna get it to happen. We're making the Shadowrun universe more part of our modern day lives. Every day, right? Every day, guys.
Well, I do think that you have to also take into consideration again the fact that when this was originally written, 10 gigs of storage was they were like, you gotta have a whole server dedicated to that.
Super important.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about if you had a 5 megabyte download, you were king. You were the king.
In 3 days, those documents would be all yours.
We can go over the important bullet points of the treaty. I mean, it was something we should know, especially since we're going to talk about what it creates, sets up and creates. So the treaty says to cede lands covering most of the Western North America to the Native American nations for purposes of forming their own independent nations. 2, to establish and recognize from this point forward the legitimacy of the Native American nations, specifically the Sioux Nation, the Pueblo Council, the Salish Council, the Ute Nation, the Transpolar Aleut Nation, and the Tismishan Nation.
Of course. That one.
Thank you. That one.
Yeah. Yep.
3, to establish the Sovereign Tribal Council as the international ruling body for the Native American nations collectively, along with the duties and responsibilities entrusted to said council. 4, to relocate and remove over the course of 10 years all United States and Canadian citizens not eligible for NAN citizenship from the lands ceded to the Native American nations. Let that one sink in.
You know,
that's
10
a lot
years.
of
10 years to get
out.
That's a lot of 1/64ths to get out of those areas.
Were we 5? Right? to
Yeah.
establish reserved lands within the Native American nations for the residents of these people who wish to remain in Nan territory, but who are not eligible for citizenship at this time. So they pulled an Uno reverse to set up reservations for non-natives.
Damn.
Just Uno reverse card right away. 6, to establish Seattle as an extraterritorial extension of the United States of America, with the exception of Mercer Island, which is ceded from this point forward to the Salish Council and renamed Council Island for the purpose of establishing embassies to the U.S. from the Native American nations. I don't know why Seattle was initially the pick, though. It doesn't really say. I mean, obviously it can't be California because California becomes Cal Free State and they just fuck off from everybody. I guess it could have been Portland, right? Until the rising of the tier. So maybe that was already pre-planned in the making of the lore idea. So that leaves just Seattle as the only accessible port.
Well, I think that's definitely why, is because you have the West Coast port side access, and you have it as kind of like the last major hub that's settled.
Yeah.
Until you get to either California or Texas or the East Coast.
Yeah.
So without having to deal with those, which they'd already, like you said, I'm sure set up for Cal Free State and the Texas conglomeration that occurs.
Texas only goes rogue to try to be its own nation for like a year before they come crawling back to the COS.
Yeehaw.
And just like real life. Oh my god.
It's listen, the secession attempts are bigger in Texas, all right? I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
So with that being said, I feel like that just leaves Seattle as kind of the natural place for them to still have left to be able to work with. Also, it gives you the close proximity to Canada and the United States, and since this whole thing is kind of a joint venture anyway, makes sense to have them on the border.
Well, that's also something to consider too. On the backside of Canada, all the way on the West Coast, there isn't really a whole lot of developed land. A lot of it is just wilderness.
Yeah.
Once you cross out of the greater Seattle area, I guess. So yeah, that makes sense. Plus, you already have, like you were saying, you already have the established ports and everything, so you don't have to build any other infrastructure. It's already there.
Yeah, they don't have to try to set up port trading in the unsettled Western Canadian wilderness at that point and make it more of a hassle when they're like, or just bop over to Seattle for like an afternoon, get all our business taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I suppose logically that's how it all works out. Well, finally, for the treaty, it is to establish the Council of Denver as a body designated to oversee the implementation of this treaty and to govern the city of Denver, hereafter called the Front Range Free Zone, and to divide control of the Front Range Free Zone among the signatories who share interests in that area, specifically Atzlan, the Pueblo Council, the Sioux Nation, the United States, and the Ute Nation. So that's one of the reasons why Denver becomes so important, is because it's technically the free city where all of these nations have a vested interest and can come to communicate and hash out any grievances that they have without having to cross over into sovereign territory that is now belonging to the Nan. Technically, Denver is in the Nan, but it works kind of like Seattle, sort of. Obviously, there are changes to this treaty as things progress in the timeline, and we'll get to that. Right now, we're just kind of establishing everything. So if you're keen to know, Denver only has a population of 3 million.
I mean,
Ah,
given its location and
a number.
purpose, that's not really that surprising. Like you said, it kind of exists more as like a neutral territoriality type of situation instead of
Mm,
being a metroplex or actual Nan territory. So,
right. Well, the whole geography of the plex itself, the Denver Metroplex, consists of Boulder to the north, all the way down to Colorado Springs in the south.
also, just as a quick point of comparison with
Mm-hmm.
that as well, as of 2023, the listed population of Denver is 716,000 people.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So, as a point of comparison, take that same space and put
Mm-hmm.
3 million people in it.
Yep. Mm.
Gotta love Shadowrun overpopulation.
Yeah, it is a problem. It is a problem.
Well, you can always just build up. It's not a
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Megacorps don't own the sky yet. They're working on it, but as of right now, it's still
Wait,
neutral.
wait till they claim space.
It's a rocket, a flag, and a dream, baby. That's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why we own the moon, right, guys? USA, USA.
USA.
A couple kind of interesting things. In 2025, the Bronco Mania Stadium was completed in the UCOS sector of Denver. Since the Denver Broncos still exist and they are a football team. So they stay in Denver because it's a neutral territory where the UCOS still has some sovereignty. So there you go, everybody. Denver Broncos. They made it into the sixth world.
I would have to imagine that, like, they only play away games, right? Could you imagine the nightmare of other teams having to come into the Denver neutrality zone?
No. No, I could not. Also, for those that are wondering, because the COS secedes from the UCOS in the early 2030s, in 2034, because of the secession, the UCOS portion of Denver was then divided between the COS and UCOS. So both are still represented in Denver, just in slightly smaller portions. There is a maglev running north to south, connecting the Metroplex, run by the Front Range Transit International, while there is a subway system that runs east to west that runs through only the Denver area. The subway has fallen into disrepair with only one line still running and many unfinished tunnels. Guess who's probably taken those over? If you are guessing the orc and troll population, you're probably correct and paying attention to the meta-human racism that is prevalent in the sixth world.
I was like, I just didn't want to have to put them in a box, man. You know, this this is like the third location in a row that in a row that we've talked about where we're like, and who took the dilapidated and underdeveloped undercities? You know it, you love it.
Orcs and trolls, everybody! Woo! Being the punching bags of society ever since they goblinized. How about that? I know everybody is waiting for the great and important moment that happens, which takes place in December of 2061, where one good old Mr. Ghostwalker reappears, exiting the Watergate Rift and flying directly to Denver and trouncing some Atzland sector. When he shows up, he just obliterates that whole area.
Deserved.
December 24th is when it happens. He emerges from the rift. The same day, he finds, because he exited as a spirit, technically.
Mm.
But that same day, he finds his body and begins the attack on Denver, focusing on the Atzlan district, and he destroys the Atzlan Teokal, which is their big like corporate pyramids that they build. On January 27th, hang on, really quick. On January 27th of 2062, so the following year, Ghostwalker takes control of Denver and bans Atzlan from the city. The Atzlan district is given to the Kos. The Council of Denver is left to govern everyday affairs in Denver. So now the Kos has its own area that was formerly Atzlan's, which has to rub Atzlan the absolute wrongest way since they hate each other.
True.
Okay, your point you were wanting to make.
Why does nothing good ever happen around Christmas in the Sixth World? What do they got against Christmas?
I don't know. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
In that same year of 2062, ground is broken for the Temple of the Dragon, which ends up being Ghostwalker's home. Go figure on that one. Here, obviously, we talk the political sector a little bit, where it's run by the Denver Council. There are 6 political sectors that coexist only because they have no other choice. These sectors' laws and economic conflict. The sector's laws and economics conflict enough to make legal trade between them virtually non-existent. Denver's shadow economy alone sustains the city. So the black markets are the only thing keeping the city afloat. Without the black and gray markets, no one could afford food and other necessities of life. The situation forces Denver's residents to ignore as well as they can the borders between the sectors. People and products must cross sector borders daily, and only the governments try to track the dangers and opportunities that cross at the same time. Denver's free-for-all Wild West attitude attracts powerful players, and that makes Denver a dangerous place even for the most experienced of Shadowrunners. I can only imagine how difficult that is. Where you have the Kos sector, the Yukos sector, the Pueblo sector, the Sioux sector, and the Ute sector. It was supposed to be 6, but Atzlan got kicked out, and the Kos got it, so it doesn't have to share with the Yukos anymore. So 5 sectors once Ghostwalker takes over. For those wondering about the NFL, right, with the Broncos football, because obviously, after the Treaty of Denver was signed, the Mile High Stadium fell into the hands of the Ute sector. And since the NFL is still considered an all-American, and the Utes wouldn't let any Anglos into their sector anyway, they built the Bronco Mania Stadium in the Yukos sector. And the Bronco Mania Stadium also houses the Denver Nuggets.
The what?
The Denver Nuggets, the basketball team.
That's their basketball team. Yeah, other sports.
The other sport. Yeah.
The Nuggets?
Yeah. Gold nuggets.
Like gold nuggets.
Oh,
not like chicken nuggets.
Oh, I don't know. It's Denver, all right?
That would be amazing. If McDonald's bought the Denver Nuggets. I think it's time. I think it's time for our big corporate crossovers finally.
It's been long enough. It's been long enough.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's time to buy them. It also houses the Urban Brawl team too. The Urban Brawl team being the Thunderheads.
That's less exciting. I got to be honest. Yeah. Let's go back to real sports.
Not 6 World Sports.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so disappointed that They have a football, basketball, and urban brawl team, but that's not important.
Right? Uh-huh.
No. We want to know more about the craziness that is happening in Denver.
Oh, I suppose that's true.
That is true.
If it
Obviously,
also,
go
sorry,
ahead.
one last real quick aside.
Mm-hmm.
The current stadium for the Denver Nuggets
Mm-hmm.
is called the Ball Arena.
That's it.
And I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that's hilarious.
The ball arena.
What do they do there? Play basketball.
They ball.
They ball, dude. What do you think?
So about those revisions to the Treaty of Denver. Obviously, once Ghostwalker took over, there were some addendums that were made.
I'm sure that they were just and fair for everybody.
Mm. Well, first, when Tismishan, Atslan, and the Tir Tangari seceded from the Nan, the treaty was amended to and revised to remove them from the tribal council and from the Front Range Free Zone. With the exception of Atslan, which retained a section of Denver until Ghostwalker showed up and kicked them out forever.
Yeah, that sounds like a Ghostwalker move.
It was also revised to include the Confederate American states when the Kos seceded from the UCOS. And then finally, it was revised one more time once Ghostwalker officially took over to recognize Ghostwalker as the sovereign leader, owner. I don't know which one you want to call him of the Denver Metroplex. It's funny that the tribes fought so hard to get the Treaty of Denver signed to give them all these lands, and then the city of Denver was used as like the free area for them to sort of cohabitate and try and create some kind of political decorum. And then Ghostwalker just comes in and goes, nah, this is mine.
He's just that cool.
Just get out.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
Also,
that is a pretty standard Ghostwalker move.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know why he specifically chose Denver. I'm not entirely sure. It might have something to do with that's where Dunkelzahn first emerges. Because he rises up out of Cherry Creek Lake. And since Ghostwalker and Dunkelzahn are supposed to be clutch brothers,
maybe he just assumes that if there's anywhere that would be some way to get back to the fourth world, or yeah, was it fourth world? What's the fantasy one that?
Yeah, you're right.
Fourth world, yeah, fourth world is Earth Dawn. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe he just wanted to set up there because he's like, oh, this will probably be the closest place to be able to figure that out and see what's going on with the fourth world. Or
Maybe.
also could think that that's maybe where the horrors are going to be coming from again. if it has that attachment to the fourth world, maybe he's like Denver. Ooh, bad news, guys.
Maybe I guess. You want a lovely piece of. I guess it's this. This counts as a lore tidbit, right?
Huh.
You know our good friend Harlequin.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
He has declared a blood feud with Ghostwalker.
Huh.
Yeah. Don't know how many blood feuds you've ever thrown out there, but
7.
Exactly 7.
Exactly 7. Yeah.
That's a respectable amount of blood feuds. Also, Counterpoint, Easy.
Uh-huh.
You don't know how many blood feuds Harlequin has, and let's be real. You want to talk about any character that would be more than likely to throw out a blood feud
Uh-huh.
willy-nilly?
Yeah.
Come on.
Willy-nilly blood feud. How many blood feuds you up to today? At least 12.
Harlequin starts 6 blood feuds before breakfast.
Oh boy.
And then he doesn't eat it because they got his order wrong. That's another blood feud.
I said eggs over easy.
Flips the table.
Flips the restaurant.
Flips the and then would go and flip the open sign to closed because that's the kind of guy Harlequin is.
Yes, that way at least people know that the flip restaurant is closed. Oh boy. Well, with how complicated it is because Denver is separated into those 5 distinct sectors, even still under Ghostwalker's rule, although that changes in 2070, and we'll talk about that in a second. We'll get pretty up to date with the goings on of Denver. The other interesting things that you need to know about Denver has a Shadowlands server located in it, the Denver Nexus.
That doesn't surprise me. I could imagine that a place like Denver would probably be pretty popular in regards to Shadowrunning activity,
Mm-hmm.
considering all of the not only intercorporate but intergovernmental things
Mhm.
that take place in Denver.
Yeah, it'd be a great place to set up, right? The Denver Nexus is a data haven located at an abandoned U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. It is also one of the main hubs of the North American online shadow community, the home of the central node for the Shadowlands BBS, and the largest data haven in the world.
All 20 gigs of it. Or
No,
sorry, what are we calling it now?
Gigapulses.
Yeah.
Sorry, 20 gigapulses of
Yeah,
data.
all 20
Yeah, that'd be a GP for you acronym people.
Stored across 10 servers.
Before Crash 2.0, the Nexus was also home to one of the largest communities of otaku in North America. Due to the huge amount of data at the Nexus, it also has some of the most powerful computing devices that can be found in and out of the shadows. Because of this, it is said that the Nexus is run using a very powerful UV host. Not even red, not even black. We're going straight UV.
Wow.
The Denver Nexus and Ghostwalker have had a tumultuous history in that Ghostwalker wasn't necessarily happy that they existed in his territory. He's threatened to kick them out on numerous occasions, and then has gone back on that and been like, "No, you're fine." And then, "No, I'm going to kick you out." "No, you're fine." The more you look into Ghostwalker, the more you kind of have to wonder, is he the most bipolar dragon to ever exist?
I feel like you could have just said Ghostwalker and insert any other character or corporation or governing body here have a tumultuous relationship.
That's probably true. Yeah, not a lot of people enjoy Ghostwalker's rule, but no one has stepped up to try to stop him at all. So,
I mean, they've pretty much established at this point that the only way to deal with a dragon is another dragon.
True.
And all of the other dragons are pretty busy. They're pretty booked out in advance. So
they
I
got
just
to
don't
make a
think,
day of it.
yeah, I just don't think that they can get
Uh-huh.
them on the books.
Because of Denver's unique situation and the way that it's divided up, it is also a major hub for smuggling. Go
Does it
figure.
say Smuggling from which way? Because I would actually be interested in that. Like, is
Uh,
it smuggling
no, it's
things
it's
like,
in and out of the city.
well, but is it primarily like things from the COS or the UCOS being smuggled in for the benefit of the Nan, or vice versa?
Well, with how diverse the city is and it's separated between all of those different nations,
Uh-huh.
the smuggling kind of goes all over the place.
Fair.
Like it isn't just being piped in from one area and going out to another. It
Right.
all just comes in, hits those black and gray markets that exist in Denver, and then just spreads out from there. That's
Right.
why Denver is able to stay afloat, thanks to all the smuggling routes that the government's probably turn a blind eye to because it's what's keeping the city running.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Without the black and gray markets, the living in Denver becomes impossible unless you're corporately set up or uh, diplomatically set up.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, the common person is just hung out to dry.
Having a rough time.
Yeah, having a rough time is one way to put it. Of course, you also have your underworld connections. I mean, where there's smuggling and a black and gray market, crime is going to be going great. The mafia influence currently is Cascalello family. The Cascalellos are Hispanic mafia based in UCOS sector of Denver. They conduct most of their business using a legal corporation, the Cascallo Imports, as a front. It doesn't say exactly what they focus on, but uh, being mafia connected, the usuals, gambling, prostitution,
Mm,
probably Beatles,
the good stuff.
the good stuff. In the UCOS section, you have the Chavez family. They were originally part of the Mexican underworld before the family fled north when Aztlan was founded. They are the primary mafia influence operating in the uh, Dallas Fort Worth sprawl in Texas and the COS sector. They're the COS sector of Denver. The other one was UCOS. My mistake. Sorry. The Chavez family is led by Don Miguel Cesar Chavez.
Any relation?
To
The other Cesar Chavez?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, it has the name Caesar in quotations, so it could just be a moniker and not his actual.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Being a Mexican syndicate, it was a criminal organization that was more brutal than any of the traditional mafia crime families in the former United States or Canada. Whether they are still as brutal as they were before is unclear.
I mean, that's what we've been told. I've seen Breaking Bad.
The Koshari dominate the underworld of the Pueblo sector. The Koshari are an Amerindian crime syndicate based in the Pueblo Corporate Council. Although they don't like to admit it, Pueblo has its own homegrown mob, the Koshari, taking their name after the raucous clowns and ceremonial Kashani dances. The Koshari trace their origins all the way back to the Siam War, where the Native Americans were fighting against the United States government. The Koshari organization is structured in a series of non-overlapping circles, which can range from street gangs and syndicates to areas and cities. The size of the circles vary widely, with membership ranging from a few to over 100. Each circle establishes its own rules, recruits who they want, and disciplines its own. Every circle has to select a member to speak for them at the gatherings. These gatherings may be of all the circles in a certain territory or all the circles involved in a specific type of business.
So I thought that sounded familiar, and I've
Mhm.
definitely seen this design before
Okay.
for the actual Kashari,
Yes,
because the Pueblo being out here in the Southwest is abundant. Uh,
of course.
so a little fun fact about the actual deity itself and its representation.
Hmm.
It says the Kashari performs a dual role of personifying supernatural spirits and society control.
Hmm.
Cool.
So I feel like that's kind of a cool double layer there as well into it being associated with a homegrown underground,
Crime.
criminal syndicate organization that they're also but they're we're the good crime family, you know? We're
Hmm.
the mobsters with a heart of gold.
The Kashari have muscle and chrome on par with other organizations on a local level, but lack the widespread infrastructure of, say, the mafia.
Hmm.
They are into the smuggling and distribution of BTLs, protection rackets, drugs, cow hot chips, illegal gambling, weapon smuggling, blackmail rackets, and talus legging.
What's that last one? Talus legging?
Well, you know how talus mongers are like a legitimate business. They sell trinkets and fetishes and everything like
Oh, do
that.
they just do it
Talus legging,
illegitimately?
yeah, talus legging is
Oh,
the
okay.
illegitimate version that also involves smuggling of rare or hard to find uh telesma,
Gotcha.
the magical reagents, things like that.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
there you
Okay.
go. You can turn to the Kashari for underground reference.
Yippee.
There are also at least two triads that are located in Denver and two different kumi of the Yakuza in the city. Also, when Evo Corporation made their way to Denver, five rivaling Vori groups followed them. So now you have the Russian mob.
I mean, where there's profit to be made from crime, the Russian mafia will be there.
I guess you can't count out the Vori. As for corporate presences within the Denver city, you have the Pueblo Corporate Council, Seder Krupp, and Warp Drive Systems.
Is Denver going to space?
Denver is not going to space. I knew you'd be
Yeah.
interested in hearing about Warp Drive Systems because that's the one weird one, right?
Uh-huh.
So we have to do a kind of brief history lesson here for this.
Okay.
So here is what I have found on Warp Drive Systems because there's not a whole lot. Warp Drive Systems was originally started by a single person. Like this is like a Steve Jobs story almost.
Uh-huh.
And ironically, the founder of Warp Drive Systems is Steve Ridgemont.
Ah.
At the age of 15, he developed and sold Factor One, his homemade encryption decryption software. He sold it to Fucci for enough money to put him through the best colleges around and start his own company. Ridgemont originally founded FTL Technologies in 2038 with the help of several friends from Texas A&M computer science program. Ridgemont's company turned out some killer resource and utility code that sent the company's value steadily climbing. FTL maintained good relations with Fuji as well. FTL created the Warp Drive programming language and the FTL persona code used by most of Fuji's cyberdecks produced in 2041.
So his software is everywhere.
Pretty much, yeah. Eventually, Fuji decided that they wanted a more hands-on, intimate relationship with FTL, meaning they were probably going to try to buy them out since FTL was growing so fast. But Ridgemont told them to go pound sand.
Oh, well, fair.
Yeah. The rejection led to a legal battle and numerous takeover attempts that lasted almost 2 years. Worsening relations with Fuji caused problems for FTL. Among other things, the Megacorp's legal department saw that most of FTL's best-selling products got so tied up in legal red tape that it was impossible for them to sell to anyone.
Huh.
Nobody else was willing to get involved with them, despite Ridgemont's efforts to find himself somebody to come to their aid. And in 2055, Fuji bought up what was left of FTL and made it a subsidiary of Fuji America. They were kind enough to offer Ridgemont an opportunity to stay on with the company, but he politely, quotations, resigned. Instead, Ridgemont moved to Denver and started all over again. He made use of all his contacts in the computer industry and began doing what he did best, writing code. Eventually, he attracts investors and he launches his new company's first product, the Transwarp Telecommunications Suite, which was an overnight success. And that is where we get warp drive systems.
Oh.
So it's basically a coding and cyber suite for cyberdecks and matrix systems.
Cool.
So yeah, that was a fun little history lesson. Basically, sort of a kind of a Steve Jobs story, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I thought it was
Well,
pretty
Exactly
close.
how it went down.
I
Not
also
exactly.
I also find it interesting that the one of the largest cyber deck manufacturer companies also happens to be in the location of, the largest connection to the the data store, all the
Oh, to
data storage
Shadowlands?
for Shadowlands
Yeah.
and everything that's also there.
That's a coincidence.
I'm sure
I'm sure.
Shadowlands loves that warp drive exists there,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So let's talk about some more current events. So back in 2061 on Christmas Eve, we got the new leader Ghostwalker uh kicking out Atzlan, established himself as leader. What else happened? The Pueblo Corporate Council took over the former Ute districts as well, and things stabilized eventually. So now we're down one more district. So now we're down to 4 districts. If you're keeping up at home, that means we've got the Yukos, the Kos, the Salish, and the Pueblo. But hey, that means that you can divide the city evenly in 4 districts, right?
Well, except that Ghostwalker's there.
Well, he owns it all, technically.
Yeah.
He does take a small hiatus in 2073. He disappears for a whole year.
Oh.
It comes back in 2074 with a new friend. In 2074, Ghostwalker returns with the free spirit Zebulon. What a name, right?
Sounds alien, which I guess is kind of the point.
Sounds free spirity.
It sounds free spirity. So I guess this is where it's a little weird. There is some magic evidence that in 1850, Zebulon began to take up residence in Denver during the Gold Rush.
What?
Yeah, you heard me.
What evidence is there? Like, is he referenced in the books or like,
Um,
like, does he have a gold depository there? Or
Gold Depository.
I don't know, man.
It's referenced from. Bringing it up. Hang on. Oh boy, it's from a fourth edition book
Oh wow. I mean,
called Artifacts Unbound.
huh?
Is where you first hear about this.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's where you get the first reference for that little tidbit about him being there beforehand. He's supposed to be Zebulon's supposed to be the free spirit of Denver,
Mm.
right? After the Treaty of Denver in 2018, Zebulon fractures into a total of 6 parts, one for each district of the city. When Ghostwalker returns, he begins to collect and slowly reunite these fragments. And in 2070, in the 2070s, the early 2070s, is when he has to gather a bunch of artifacts to try to reunite all of the different shards of the free spirit and bring it all back together. And in 2074 is basically when he's successful, and people are now reintroduced or introduced to the free spirit Zebulon.
Okay.
Zebulon shows a great amount of compassion and consideration. Some scholars argue that Zebulon convinced Ghostwalker to spare more than a few metahumans. However, Zebulon is also the reason Ghostwalker would sometimes make some very odd or even downright callous decisions. For instance, he would grant a building permit to one person and tear down that same building shortly after it was constructed. Astral scholars have said that he was doing this to affect the manosphere in Denver to make it nicer for Zebulon. Nobody knows the full truth. It's still unknown to this day. And in 2079, Zebulon was reported to be destroyed, not dispersed or disrupted, but obliterated. And since 2079, things have gotten crazy. On March 10th, the districts all went into lockdown. And Ghostwalker's Zone Defense Force forcibly ushered out every government entity from the FRFC. Ghostwalker's spokesperson, also known as Ghostwalker's voice, the one who speaks for him, one Nicholas Whitebird, declared that the ZDF was maintaining martial law over the zone per Ghostwalker's wishes. Ghostwalker had given the various member nations a month to evacuate, and anyone left behind was treated as fair game by the ZDF. The whole thing was called Ghostwalker's Reclamation. Folks on the street referred to it as the Great Eviction.
Well, at least they put a nice title to it.
Right?
It doesn't sound nearly as bad as Ghostwalker's forceful removal.
I guess. This covers like the whole FRFC. It's not just Denver, Colorado Springs, and Boulder. It's a lot of different ones that make up the whole FRFC. But like I said, we're focusing mostly on the Denver area. So we have Boulder, right? Being the northmost city. The residents there have done a lot to make the city environmentally friendly. even requiring new buildings to be built so they don't obstruct the landscape. Thus, there are fewer corporate buildings in the city, but residents think that's a worthwhile trade-off. The ZDF in Boulder is more aggressive about environmental crimes, such as littering, than in most parts of the other zones. You'll be happy to know that even into the 2080s, Warp Drive Systems headquarters still exists. They're in Centennial now, the tech capital of the FRFC. Centennial is the tech capital of the FRFC and recently expanded to take over what was left standing of Inglewood. In this sector, you'll find most companies almost exclusively dedicated to the Matrix.
Makes sense.
That's probably a good place for them to be.
Yeah, it has a bunch of little guys that are hoping to hold out to not be gobbled up by any of the big AAA megacorps.
Yeah.
I believe in them.
There's also a place in Centennial called Drones, Drones, Drones. And as the name suggests, this is a place to go if you need drones, drone parts, or advice on how to use your drone.
They also service blenders.
They also service blood. I guess so. I can't talk about Denver really without talking about the Front Range Free Zone because it's basically what it is. Or Ghostwalker controls the entire Front Range Free Zone. We've got Colorado Springs, remember it making up the southernmost point. I like how this basically started as Denver, but has evolved into being more about the FRFC because there's more going on with that than anything else. Colorado Springs has undergone a sort of exodus in recent years. At various points, the city has been claimed by Atslan, the COS, the PCC, and now Ghostwalker. All these shifting powers have led to the city being poorly managed and many residents leaving for greener pastures. There are still some holdouts and diehards who refuse to give up in the hope to restore the city to its former glory. It's also the location of Cheyenne Mountain. Any SG1 fans listening? Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado Springs, the former home of the U.S. military's NORAD division. Cheyenne Mountain installation is a massive honeycomb of tunnels and elevator shafts. No one knows just how deep the mountain complex goes.
Telling you, man, they're going to space.
Or maybe they have the Stargate already.
Does the Stargate just lead to the fourth world? Is that really what?
Yeah,
no,
that's it.
No, that would be the Fawgate. You'll also find the Church of the Holy Word in Colorado Springs.
What is the word?
Despite Ghostwalker's reclamation, the Church of the Holy Word continues its mission of propagating, its unique brand of Christianity. The church represents a well-funded and well-organized front with a militant arm called the Followers of the Holy Sword. Rumor has it that they have connections with the human nation.
Oh,
of course. You don't have a association to a previous religious affiliated association called the Sword
Hmm.
and assume that everything is probably just on the up and up with them and they're all pretty chill guys.
Yeah, that's true. Also in Colorado Springs, that's where the original Denver data haven was until Ghostwalker razed it to the ground.
Well, it was in the way for his alien ghost friend.
Yeah, it's all for his alien ghost friend. Say
Yeah,
no on. Uh, and Austin, just for you, when I'm doing that and saying Zebulon, I am totally making the Z with my hands.
as it should be. Are you also wearing your bubble wrap jumpsuit?
I'm wearing my bubble wrap jumpsuit when I say it too.
Good, good. As Lord Zoltan intended.
As Lord Zoltan intended. Karma, I'll be
Yeah.
really impressed if you get that reference at all.
Nope.
I didn't think so.
Karma, there was a time when there used to be these things that were called comedy movies. You may have heard of
Okay,
them.
right.
I know that they're a relic of the ancient past now,
Yeah. Yeah, I got
but
nothing for you.
there was one such that is known as Dude, Where's My Car?
Oh
And
wait, yeah, I watched that show. I remember watching that movie when I was like 8. And then afterwards, my parents were like, "Oh, we shouldn't have showed you that," and I never watched it again.
Wow.
So
well, you should definitely watch it again, being not 8,
Yes.
good
because
point. Good point. You got me
You
there.
you'll get a lot of the jokes that you probably didn't
Yeah.
get when you were 8.
yeah, I think you
The
might
only thing I
appreciate that
remember from
movie a
that
little more.
movie, yeah, the only thing I remember from that movie is the I don't know, intercom scene when he's at the fast food place.
Uh-huh, of
Oh,
course.
uh-huh. Yes,
Yeah,
that's a famous
And
one. Yeah.
then,
yeah,
And
that's
then
the only one I remember.
and then,
and then and then. You know what else is fun in Colorado Springs?
oh,
Alcohol.
I'm sorry, wait, are we referring to the uh religious cult organization as fun in Colorado Springs?
No, no, this is a different
Oh,
place now.
oh, okay. Sorry, sorry.
They exist there, the Church of the Holy Word, but
I
also
see.
Fort Carson is in Colorado Springs, the former U.S. Army base. Fort Carson now belongs to Ghostwalker and used primarily to train his elite mercenary group, the Black Talons.
I just like that every sentence is followed up with the statement, which is owned by Ghostwalker now.
Right? They have a range for small arms training, a simulated urban environment, and they perform aerial maneuver training for uh, insertions and extractions.
Oh,
Fort Carson also boasts a top notch medical facility, but is only available to the Black Talons. I hope that they train to jump out of air vehicles in wingsuits. How cool would that be?
I mean, Halo jumping with wingsuits would be an optimal way to get your elite strike force team for, qualified for extractions.
Right? Oh, how about this place? The Garden of the Gods, also in Colorado
Uh-huh.
Springs.
Kind of cool.
It is a massive 1,300-acre park made of natural sandstone formations. This park was a private park until the owner's death. Upon their death, the park returned to the property of the nearby community. The park now serves as a communal area for hiking, camping, and ritual magic.
Ooh, fun.
You got to get that sixth world flavor in there.
Right? You had
That
to.
does actually sound pretty cool. I'm glad that we do actually have nice locations still in the
Mhm.
sixth world from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's Krupp Chemicals Refinery. And yes, I mean Seder Krupp.
Well, of course, the best place for a dragon to do business is near another dragon, obviously.
Or obviously,
Sure. Yeah.
Well, 'cause- yeah.
the hub. The living, breathing heart of Denver, the hub serves as Ghostwalker's personal enclave of perfection.
Oh.
During the first Treaty of Denver, it was neutral ground for all the nations that had sectors. Now, in the 2080s, it's the tower from which Ghostwalker exerts his control over the region. The sky of the hub is abuzz with sky taxis, drones, and spirits. The ground is flush with pedestrians and cars. It's dense, crowded, and has an electric feel that is hard to replicate. The hub is home to more corporate facilities than any other district in the zone. In it, you can find offices dedicated to architectural dynamics, awakened world research, Spellweaver Consortium, and Unlumi Tech.
Who is Unlumitech?
I don't actually know. Let's find out. Let's go on a side quest. They are an Ares subsidiary.
Uh,
Ooh. Ooh, they're not good people.
okay.
Shocker.
Yeah. The Ares subsidiary Unlimi Unlimi Unlimitech. Unlimitech, I guess that's how you say
Like
it.
unlimited, but for
I,
tech.
I guess.
Unlimitech.
Yeah, Unlimitech.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. So Ares subsidiary Unlimitech was busy in the insect related experiments.
Well, it's a good thing that nothing bug spirit related ever happens in Colorado.
Nothing at all.
Otherwise, they'd probably get in a lot of trouble,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at least as much as AA corporations do. Also, I was wondering this earlier when you were talking about the organized crime and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Does it say who is in charge of the police force for Denver? Like, do they have their own?
That is facilitated by Ghostwalker. He has the
Oh,
Zone Defense Force, the ZDF.
oh, let's go. Do they have to fight like giant bugs and aliens all the time?
They do. They're not the Earth Defense Force, no.
Oh.
They might have to fight bugs, especially if you have
Ah,
someone like Olivitech there.
ah.
Ares Spire can be found in the hub. At the time, Arthur Vogel wanted a way to make Ares really stand out. So he ordered construction of this narrow 50-story skyscraper. Shortly after, Ares Consumer Products Division moved its headquarters into the Spire. Because as technology was ousted from the region, Ares Consumer Products decided to try to use Denver as a testbed for products from all the various nations. This strategy was working well until Ghostwalker's reclamation. The offices for Ares Consumer Products and other divisions are all above ground, and occasionally Vogel himself visited. The R&D labs are all below ground. Ares proudly recruits dwarves to work in the Spire, and they boast that they have more dwarves on their payroll than any other business in the zone. I don't know if that's something to boast about.
I mean, it probably is within the grander picture of the sixth world. I mean, I thought you were going to say that they boasted that they had the largest number of dwarves above ground of any major city in the sixth world.
Yeah, I guess.
Because, probably the same, probably the same claim that could be made for
Uh-huh.
employing the most number of dwarves.
Um, what else do you have here in the hub? You have the Church of the Dragon Reborn headquarters. Located directly across the street from Ghostwalker's liaison's office, the Church of the Dragon Reborn was built from a splinter sect of the Children of the Dragon. With the resurgence in membership since Ghostwalker's reclamation, the church began construction on other locations throughout the Free Zone. Often one can find Joshua Morningstar leading prayer services in the shadow of Ghostwalker's liaison office.
I bet he is.
Hey, Chummers, just taking a quick moment to say if you are enjoying what you hear, consider coming over to our Discord where you can hang out with us and other like minded Shadowrun enthusiasts. The link is in the description. While you're at it, check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/critical_hits. You get early access to episodes of SINless. You get to vote on upcoming art that you want to see in the shows, and you also get full access to Worm Talks, just to name a few things. It's only $5, and that gets you in and helps us keep the lights on and making the content that you enjoy. And now back to the show.
Interesting little tidbit about Mr. Morningstar is that he didn't exist prior to 2061.
He sure didn't.
Rumors have it that he's actually a Drake of Ghostwalkers, but none have ever seen him shift into draconic form, and his aura has a lot of powerful magic masking it. So, who knows for sure?
It must be awkward having that church located so close to Ghostwalker's residence when all they want to do is just worship Loftware all the time.
Wow. Shots fired.
Ooh, and I don't even like Loftware.
Coming from a diehard D-boy over here.
Listen, he's too busy being president, all right? He hasn't got time for this.
President of the afterlife?
Yeah, he was still elected, easy.
For all of... He was president-elect, Dunkelzahn, then.
No, I mean in the afterlife. The ghost voted for him, too. That's how much they love him, all right?
The ghost voted for him.
Dunkelzahn secured the spirit vote.
I don't... I have no words for that at all. Also in the hub, you have Council Hall. What was once a political arena built for the executives for each sector, Council Hall has been converted into a museum.
Well, they don't really have a need for it anymore, do they?
Not with Ghostwalker running things, no. A grotesque display of Ghostwalker's power, the museum essentially taunts each of the former member nations of the Free Zone. Each of the nations that previously had a sector has a dedicated exhibit with statues and art commemorating their failures as leaders and exalting Ghostwalker as the savior of the zone.
That's hilarious. He's
Could
like,
you
not
imagine?
not only did I win, but then I opened a museum about how much these other guys sucked.
Yeah, not only did I win, I opened a museum about how much I won. You have the Denver Administration Building. Following Ghostwalker's reclamation, he took on all the administrative responsibilities of the Free Zone, and the Denver administration started hiring staff members in droves. It is home to offices for each of the district representatives, along with the bureaucracy needed to keep Denver operating efficiently. We also have the Denver Zoo. Under the careful, watchful eye of Ghostwalker, the Denver Zoo takes great care of its animal residents. The zoo is permitted to contain any non-sapient critter or paracritter so long as the environment is kept as authentic as possible. The zoo has a display of mated greater phoenixes on loan from the Pueblo Corporate Council, which serves as a huge draw for the crowd when the phoenixes begin their mating dance, only to incinerate each other and then be reborn in front of everyone's eyes. Yeah, I'd watch that. I'd watch that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. There's also the Draco Foundation office. The Draco Foundation maintains an office in the hub. Most standard office functions can be performed here. Recruitment is one of the primary functions. Some of the leadership, including Nadia Devere, can occasionally be found here using the facility as a remote office. There are unsubstantiated rumors that the Draco Foundation managed to recover powerful artifacts after the fight between Ghostwalker and Harlequin. The fact that the building has a basement protected with very powerful hints that these rumors may have basis in truth. They're protected by very powerful wards. The Draco Foundation also runs a homeless outreach program in an annex building. In exchange for a warm meal and bed, they ask all the residents provide news off the streets. It's speculated that the primary reason for maintaining this annex office is to maintain a spy network within the free zone.
All I'm hearing is more reasons why Dunkelzahn is the best dragon. All right, this is all you're reinforcing here.
Even in his afterlife, a network of spies still exists. Easily one of the most favorite spots in the hub is the Evo Gardens. Earned because of the greenery growing all over the buildings, especially on the roofs and bridges that connect the structures. Evo moved its North American headquarters to this campus, and the head of Evo North America, Mary Luce, often visits the area to check on local businesses. Evo, through its Meta Ergonomics subsidiary, secured many of the contracts to provide metahumans and sapient critters with comfortable residences, restaurants, and infrastructure. Evo Gardens also houses the local branch of Meta Matrix, the Evo subsidiary that provides electronics and equipment to get sapients of all types onto the Matrix.
The Evo never did anything wrong, right, guys? Good old Evo. Look at him being helpful.
This is a weird one. There's a place in the hub called the Feed Trough. Feed Trough was built by Evo with the expectation that centaurs were an underserved market.
Huh.
Turns out it's also popular with non-centaurs due to the work of their excellent chef. The feed trough is 100% vegan and organic, and it gets most of its produce from local farms in the Elbert and Stapleton districts. Sounds like it's not my place.
I don't know, but you get the chance to have lunch with a centaur. It's kind of cool.
Cool. I'll just go out to pasture and oh look, there's one.
I'll just throw some hay in a field and eat my BLT. It'll be a good time.
Yeah. Or go down a darker route. There's a competing food place that serves centaur burgers. I don't know. I'm making that part up, but it's
free
Sixth
range.
World. We don't free
100% free range centaur.
Ooh. Yikes. With Denver being a big smuggling hub, like we mentioned earlier, there is a spot called 5x5. 5x5 is a favorite haunt for smugglers and coyotes. Located in an unused cistern beneath the hub, the bar has a reputation for being discreet and relaxing despite its dank surroundings. The bar has a tradition that helps reinforce this reputation. If you discuss business openly, you must buy everyone a round. The owner of 5x5 is a hobgoblin rigger named Squid, who knows just about every smuggler and coyote in the free zone personally.
I mean, if you make it your business to operate out of their local bar, it's probably a good idea to know.
You would think so, right?
Uh-huh. That's just good business.
Yeah, he knows what's going on. Also, we can find Ghostwalker's liaison office. Obviously, this was mentioned. If you have to go to this building, you better have a great reason. Ghostwalker's liaison, Nicholas Whitebird, lives and works in this building as the living embodiment of the Great Dragon. All his edicts are broadcast from these offices. The ZDF maintains a constant vigil alongside Ghostwalker's contingent of spirit allies. This building starts with 2 stories of regular floors before it forks out into 4 narrow 55-story spires that appear to be covered in dragon scales, with habitable floors only on the upper and lower floors. It stands as a testament to Ghostwalker's dominance.
Huh.
Huh.
Nothing says I own this place like a building that's made to look like my scales.
That's pretty cool.
Like a big old dragon claw.
Right? Yeah, it's reaching to the sky. Notice how it had to be 55 stories, so that's taller than Ares' spire, which is only 50 stories. I wonder if that was done on purpose.
Oh, I'm sure that was just a coincidence, easy.
Just 5 more stories taller than the spire to be like, hey, Ares, allow me to raise this large middle finger.
4 of them, in fact.
4 of them, in fact. Yes, here we go. There's another place in the hub called Lunar Noctum. Lunar Noctum is a local mage hangout. It is shrouded by an anchored darkness spell.
Ooh.
Astral perception is required to be able to navigate the club, which keeps the mundanes away. Once a month, generally the day before the new moon, the bar shuts down to cover the surfaces with a thin layer of neutralized FAB, so mages can navigate properly. On the new moon, a huge party draws massive crowds of spirits and mages alike. The club is owned by a dwarf mage named Brandy Bam Bam Barista.
That's a really solid name.
Right? I never really thought about that. An all mage club that you can only go to if you have astral sight.
It's
You have to have astral perception to be able to navigate the club because it's shrouded in a permanent darkness spell. That is pretty cool. Everybody's favorite corporation to love to hate, mostly Shadowrunners. Mitsuhama Tower is also located in the hub. It's only a 30-story tower. It serves as the home to 3 major MCT subsidiaries, Hermitech, Parashield, and Mitsuhama Media. Hermitech specializes in security solutions for mundanes against magical threats. Parashield provides dual-natured paracritters for security contracts, along with the infamous Parashield Darts series of weapons. Mitsuhama Media is the smallest of these subsidiaries, focusing on SimSense and Tridio production. Austin, you'll enjoy this one. In the hub, you can also find the One-Up Bar and Arcade.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
Divided into 3 sections, the main room of this entertainment venue is the One-Up Bar and Grill, a typical bar with a contemporary style serving drinks and food along with occasional live music. The One-Up Arcade is a game room featuring reproductions of video game machines from a century ago, as well as an assortment of modern AR game areas. The One-Up Back Room is a dark and smoky members-only private club that is actually a hangout for runners.
But only the ones that are also just a bunch of nerds.
Probably. The only real membership requirement being good street rep. The owner of the bar, Carol Cat McTavish, is a retired runner and well-known fixer, and occasionally Mr. Johnson in the Denver shadow scene.
That is pretty cool. But also, I would have to imagine that like what we have as our perception of an arcade in the 6th world would end up just actually being vastly different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They say arcade machines from a century ago. That would be from the 90s. A century, we're in 2080, so 1980 would be as far back as they go.
There you go. It's all just like virtual reality pods and AR hookup rigs, and then right in the corner is the one red SNK cabinet with the 5-in-1. You can still play Metal Slug even in the sixth world.
That's right. You could probably AR Metal Slug in the sixth world.
As long as we still have the same narrator in the sixth world doing the job for the AR, that's all I care.
As long as that's true. The church can also be found in the hub. The church is one of the oldest nightclubs in Denver. Not what you were thinking, is it?
Also, not surprised given that it's the sixth world, though, to be fair.
The building is much older than the nightclub originally, a cathedral built in 1865. The church features nightly live performances ranging from classic EDM to modern trog rock.
Nice.
When weekday eclipse was torched, the church held a massive candlelight vigil for the victims. Rumors are that the church is also owned by Perry and Ware, but they were discounted as fiction created to drive away business. What else we got? We got The Grind, a biker bar popular among the orcs and trolls who were unfortunate enough to live in what was Koss territory. The Grind makes an ideal meeting place. There are enough patrons to discourage bad behavior, but few enough to allow for discretion. Someone named Gibson, sometimes also called Sarge, is the owner and operator of the Grind. That's a fun little blurb about Sarge. Sarge was originally a sergeant for Lone Star and was forced to grind down his horns to fit in.
Ah.
After a while, he decided the racism was too much to tolerate and left.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Lone Star not necessarily being the most welcoming environment for that type of thing.
What else? Oh, this one's fun. Tower of Babel.
Uh-huh.
Prior to
Is this one also a nightclub?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Prior to Ghostwalker's reclamation, the Tower of Babel was a nightclub with a notorious streak. Turns out that the place was being used by the Koss to listen in on wireless traffic throughout the hub.
Huh.
Okay, that's actually kind of hilarious, though.
Right?
That's pretty good. I like that.
Ghostwalker quickly shut down this business, and now the club is open again to the public. To get in, you have to get into an elevator that takes you up 20 floors to the club itself.
Floors 1 through 19 or 2 through 19, we're all the wiretapping floors, so we just don't go there anymore.
we don't talk about that anymore.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of big satellite dishes and rooms with headphones attached to them. Karma, out of curiosity, do you know like the Tower of Babel, the reference?
Like, yeah, like
Like the
Bible
actual
story?
tower? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, dude.
Listen.
Not illiterate. Like,
Well, I don't. First of all, I didn't know if you ever read the Bible. Secondly,
like it's a pretty well-known story. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like it's a pretty.
Look, me and Easy throw you what we think to be some softballs on references sometimes.
All right. Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
I just want to double check again. It's
Yes, I'm familiar with the yes.
The enjoyment of it being a listening outpost for another government. Very solid.
Yeah.
I do have the names of the two triads that operate in the in Denver for crime.
Oh.
You have the Golden Triangle Triad. They are a very conservative triad based in the Chinatown neighborhood of Lowry. They will go to surprising lengths to avoid confrontation and prefer to grow slowly and legitimately when possible. They have a larger than normal number of technomancers and metahumans in their ranks, and they tend to be willing to try out new business ideas.
Haven't we talked about them before in another
The Golden
location
Triangle?
as well? Yeah.
No.
No?
This is
Okay.
the first mention, yeah. There's also the White Lotus. Compared to the relatively relaxed Golden Triangle Triad, the White Lotus are rabid hellhounds.
Oh, like literally? Like it's just a gang made up of rabid
Just
hellhounds?
No, they're like rabid hellhounds.
Oh, I was gonna say that organizational structure must be a mess.
They lost a club and failed to take over the Lakeside Amusement Park and casino. Not content with that, they went on the offensive against the Krylovori and lost some of their brothels in the process. Of the
Oh
two
no.
triads, the White Lotus is the most likely to operate outside the Chinatown neighborhood, and they are more than willing to step on toes to advance themselves. Their current lodge master, the leader of the White Lotus triad, is Auntie Zhe Fang, who took the reins after her father was assassinated by the Vori.
I mean, nothing like the Russian mafia to give you a good revenge story, you know?
Obviously, the Vori is here, like we said. The Krylov Vori. When the Vori initially moved in on Denver's underworld, each of the leaders took a section of the city. In the years since, the various czars have all been killed or gave up their ownership in order to make Vladimir Kilorov the only czar standing at the end. Without a large European immigrant population, the Vori here are unable to rely on protection rackets and such. However, the Vori are excellent smugglers, bringing in weapons and sex slaves from Europe and Asia, forcing the latter to work off their debts in disgusting brothels scattered throughout the city. The Vori also bring in most of the opiates on Denver streets.
Well, the Void just moved into their territory and said, we'll do our own organized crime, but with cocaine and hookers.
Okay, we've got lots more cocaine and hookers. We're getting, now that we're into the crime segment of Denver here, I know you guys are jonesing for those local gangs, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, local gangs in Denver underwent a serious shakeup shortly before Ghostwalker's reclamation. Most of the gangs have become unified under the leadership of the fronts. It's hardly a proper organized crime syndicate. It's more like a feudal system of vassalage. Even though the fronts are affiliated with the Vori, it seems like the Vori had nothing to do with the recent blitzkrieg that the fronts put on. So here is the list of the following are a list of the gangs that operate within Denver, or who you'll probably run into. You have the 14ers.
Okay.
Named for the mountains just west of Denver, are a gang of eco-activists. They are sometimes accused of being a terror cell for Terra First, the worldwide eco-terrorist network. They see any corporate interests in the mountain regions of the Front Range as a direct threat to the Earth. Despite the eco-friendly nature of Ghostwalker and his administration, the 14ers often run afoul of the ZDF. The gang is small, but every member is initiated and skilled in ritual magic.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're just the Planeteers.
And you can be one too.
Oh man, they're still working on taking pollution down to zero, though. One of these days we'll get there. One of these days.
In the sixth world, they're not doing so hot.
It is a uphill battle. I was really hoping that they were called the 14ers because there were 13 members.
Nope. Sorry. I know, it's a disappointment. Next up on the list, we have one that you probably heard of before. The Ancients.
Mm.
The Ancients is one of the largest gangs in the world. They are primarily an elven gang with a rigid militaristic structure and access to military-grade equipment. In places where elves are disenfranchised, the ancients can be seen working to reclaim their individuality and authority. They use this image to help recruitment efforts, and because of their primarily elven membership, they frequently clash with organizations like the Humanist Poly Club.
Was just gonna ask, is this Humanist for elves? But I guess since you said primarily elf makeup,
Uh-huh.
it means that there are probably other races that are also members of this gang. So still a step above Humanist.
They also have an ongoing feud in Denver with the Cutters, who we will get to here in a moment.
Oh, I bet I can guess what they do.
If you guessed cut, I think you're on the right track.
Yes, but the specificity of the cut.
Oh, well, we'll find out soon. I don't want to spoil it for everybody. Next on our gang list is Chrome Domes. The Chrome Domes are a really small but ultra-violent gang of cybernetic enthusiasts. They are all about augmenting their bodies in any way possible, and they're led by an orc named Atlas, who looks bigger than many trolls.
I was really hoping that it was just going to be a gang of a bunch of bald guys.
No, sorry, it's people that are addicted to cybernetically enhancing their body.
Yeah, that makes more
Shocker.
sense.
Mm-hmm. And that will bring us to the Cutters. I know you're excited about this one. The Cutters may be the largest Go gang in North America.
Hmm.
It also should be noted that the Ancients are primarily a Go gang as well. Locally, though, meaning in Denver, they have only about 120 members, making them smaller than the Ancients. Unlike most gangs, the Cutters are organized a lot like a corporation, with a board of directors of various chief executives. Each, quote, market is controlled by a director who directs operations through managers. In a lot of ways, the Cutters resemble the Yakuza, but they lack polish and still hold on to their street tough imagery. They have historically been reluctant to be involved in legitimate business, which until recently was another major distinguishing factor. The free zone market is managed by a director named Janie Baroness Robinson. She has 3 lieutenants who each manage a crew of about 40 people and handle operations in Boulder, Denver, and Colorado Springs. Because of the history of Denver's espionage business, the Cutters are more talented than most in spycraft, surveillance, and counter-surveillance.
Well, they had to find something else to do after they shut down, the first 19 floors of Tower Bell.
Right? I guess that's true. So maybe not cutters in the way that you were thinking, but cutters of information.
Yeah, I had assumed that we were just gonna re-dip back into elf racism territory there. I'm gonna be
No,
honest, but
they're just fighting over turf.
they cut the information feed.
Next up on our gang list, we have the Dogmen. Technically, the Dogmen are an international gang, but they're way smaller than either the Ancients or the Cutters. They often run as couriers for the First Nation and also work with the Komungo. They have a couple of T-birds and are led by a woman named Yahal. The Dogmen claim no specific territory and frequently work in the Gap and Elbert districts. And just so people know, the Gap is a section of the free zone that is basically just I-25.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there's no commercial anything around it. It's just a stretch of highway. So Yeah, it makes sense that the dogmen would be couriers and people to run goods, smugglers, basically.
Yeah.
That brings us to Durin's sons.
Oh, another elf gang?
Durin's sons.
Yeah.
So
I
Excuse me.
stand by what I said.
Excuse me. If you see a bunch of dwarves
oh,
wearing chainmail and sporting axes in Boulder, there's about a 50-50 chance that they're members of Durin's sons or LARPers. Durin's Sons are a psycho thrill gang that started up about 20 years ago and act like they live in a fantasy trid. They refuse to work with elves or humans and will go straight for the throat when dealing with orcs or trolls.
ow.
You can see them riding around Hafferville with their motorcycles and augmentations decorated to match their costumes. What a wild gang.
I mean, maybe they're just actual refugees from the fourth world.
Probably. That's probably it.
They just learned to ride motorcycles.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
if they can operate a Stargate easy, I'm sure they can.
True.
I'm sure they can learn how to ride a motorcycle.
No, we've been over this. They wouldn't operate a Stargate. They'd be operating a Fargate, which has nothing to do with a Stargate and is legally distinct. On to the First Nation. The First Nation is technically a criminal syndicate of organized criminal elements in the Sioux Nation. However, they have no leadership structure in the Free Zone, so they are classified as a gang. They work alongside the Dogmen and Comingo, focusing their smuggling efforts along the Brighton and Stapleton districts. For the most part, the First Nation steers clear of other larger gangs. They prefer to work rather than fight and will usually negotiate some sort of deal instead of fighting. They just want to smuggle their goods, guys.
Mm.
Yeah, just let them smuggle in peace.
Right? All right. So remember we had talked about the fronts before we started talking about local gangs, where most of the gangs have become unified under the leadership of the fronts. Well, here are the fronts. They have hundreds of members scattered primarily in the Aurora Warrens, where they've consolidated almost every other gang under their banner. They're led by an elf named Amy Sutter, who is never without her bodyguard, an absolutely massive orc named Gob. The three major gangs that are combined under the banner of the fronts, you have the Aurora Angels, the Dam Busters, and the Three Kings.
Those are wildly different gang names.
Yeah.
Right? The Aurora Angels are a vassal gang of the fronts. They excel at hacking and blackmail. The Dam Busters is a thrill gang that used to run the area around the Quincy Reservoir. They wear bomber jackets and sport the greaser look from the 1940s.
Odd.
However, they are experts with explosives and have a unique knack for throwing grenades right where they need to be.
That is a useful skill to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the Three Kings that used to run independently in the Aurora Warrens, but that all changed when the Vori attempted to wipe them out. Their dwarf leader, Rembrandt, reached out to the fronts for support. The fronts provided heavy weapons, which turned the tide. The Vori retreated, and the Three Kings were forever sworn to the fronts. They are heavy weapon specialists, given that most of their members are former soldiers of the UCOS army.
Solid.
So that's the three gang, some of the gangs that are making up the fronts. Back to individual gangs that are still running the area. Ghost Riders. Ghost Riders are a medium-sized Go gang that controls the 470 between Route 121 and Highway 285. Every time the Ghost Riders are on the move, there's some sort of magical effect that travels with them. They might have a thunderstorm riding behind them. Their motorcycles might instead look like ghostly horses, or they may even leave trails of flames on the road behind them.
Legally distinct.
Legally distinct.
They also sometimes look like they have skeleton heads and leather jackets, but that's just an aesthetic choice.
Again, legally distinct.
Yes.
Next up, we have the Ironsiders MC. The Ironsiders used to be a legitimate motorcycle club made up of Sioux. Following Ghostwalker's reclamation, the Ironsiders turned into a so-called 1%er club, which means they went outlaw. They still have a lot of control over smuggling routes that travel through Brighton and Thornton, and they often require criminals to hire the Ironsiders for protection. Like a traditional MC, they have strict rules against members poisoning their bodies with injected drugs. However, they're more than happy to bring in innovators' drugs to the zone, provided their members abstain from using them.
So no doing the drugs, just moving them around.
Just moving them around, yes. We don't do the drugs, we just bring them in and sell them.
It's a good call.
Nocturna is the next gang. A small niche gang in the Aurora Warrens. No one in the fronts ever tried to overtake Nocturna. There's less than a dozen members, but they all share one thing in common. They're all fucking vampires.
That was my guess. Yay! Vampire gang.
Despite their small numbers, they can put up a hell of a fight when they need to. However, they try to avoid conflict unless it's on someone else's turf. One of the founding principles of the gang is to keep their neighborhood safe from any external threats. All they asked for in exchange is a donation of blood from their neighbors. Anyone passing through their territory must provide a pint of fresh blood in exchange for safe passage.
Huh. It's kind of cool.
Give us blood or else. Oh, God.
Do you think that they ever invite the Ghost Riders to their blood raves?
I don't think so, no. Because there's so few of them. Less than a dozen members. So
yeah, they got to fill that warehouse somewhere. Otherwise, it's not a proper blood rave.
Well, only when Sandstorm is playing.
Exactly.
Yes. Silver Thorns, our next gang, operating in the primarily elven neighborhood of Tierray. This all-elven gang has ties to the ancients but refuses to join up with them. The Silver Thorns are led by a free spirit of man who calls itself Paladin de Fort. Paladin de Fort takes the form of a medieval knight, and according to reports, he definitely has connections to the Corgian spirit faction in charge of the Brocladine forest in France. Brocladine. He's also got connections with local fairies. The gang doesn't really act like most criminal gangs, though. They're focused more on protecting Tierray and making sure their fellow elves are safe in the dangerous Aurora Warrens. All right, we've only got 3 more gangs to go.
I don't know how we're gonna top the Ghost Riders and the Greasers and the Vampire gangs, because those are pretty good.
Well, we're gonna try. Here we go. Next up, we've got Smooth Criminals.
Okay.
That is the name of the gang. It's Smooth Criminals. Do you think they prefer the Michael Jackson version or the Alien Ant Farm version?
I like to imagine that it's all just people dressed in different Michael Jackson outfits in order to be a member of the gang.
That would be awesome.
And they're all like they're all their own different groups. So you've got like
Uh-huh.
the bad gang in the leather jackets, and then you've got the smooth criminal gangs with the white suits.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be disappointed by this gang.
Probably.
This is a small gang in the northern part of Colorado Springs with ties to some really nasty people. The leader, Curtis Rivers, used to be a member of the Humanist Poly Club
Of course he
and
did.
found Humanist activities to be too tame for his liking.
Of course they were.
He formed the Smooth Criminals and allied with Human Nation. Several of their members are known to attend the Church of the Holy Word and are likely connected with followers of the Holy Sword. There you go. There is your human first racist gang.
Woo!
Gotta have one.
So you mean to tell me
Mm-hmm.
that in the Denver area,
Yes,
the KKK equivalent is named after a Michael Jackson song?
that's what I'm telling you.
All right. Well, that being the case, easy. I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that they probably prefer the Alien Ant Farm version to the Michael Jackson version.
Big thonk on that one, everybody. Big thonk. And leaving no time to discuss further, let's move right along to West Side Bloods.
Good name.
Running out of the western side of Colorado Springs, the West Side Bloods are your typical gang. They sell drugs, they rob people, and they try to push everyone else out of their territory. The only thing that makes them unique is the fact that they're an all-Hispanic gang and their leader, Sleepy, is rumored to be connected to Atzlan. That's it. That's all. The most basic of gangs.
I I can't get over the fact that their leader's name is Sleepy.
And they're an all-Hispanic gang? Are you trying to say something there?
Are the rest of the upper echelon of the gang also named after the other seven dwarfs? Do they also have Grumpy and Sneezy
And Dopey and Happy
Dopey
and Doc?
and Doc? Well, he's the street doc, obviously.
I was going to say they obviously have Doc because they
Yeah.
need a street dog.
Exactly.
As for the rest, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe we'll make it canon that we do, and clearly Happy is their drug dealer.
It wouldn't be Dopey?
No, that's two on the nose.
Oh, okay. You know what? You got me.
No, definitely wouldn't be Dopey. Too obvious. Dopey just does a lot of the drugs.
Yeah, they don't let Dopey and Happy out on the same route anymore.
No, they can't plow around anymore without supervision. All right, are you ready for the last gang?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Zombies.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Based out of Aurora, the Zombies are the one of the few gangs in the district that wasn't absorbed or destroyed by the fronts. They're a thrill gang with nearly no leadership. Their only directive seems to be to have fun and terrorize everyone. Despite their "we're all independent" and chaotic attitude, the zombies are surprisingly similar to each other. They tend to rock that heroin chic look, and they dress in gray and black. They sell chips, drugs, and extort people in Aurora, squeezing blood from the stone somehow. Their leader, Romero, leads the gang around in a repurposed school bus, which they use as a troop transport and party bus.
So they're just a crust punk gang.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like this is where the disenfranchised use of the upper middle class to upper class end up.
Right.
Man. A lot of gangs. A lot of gangs.
I mean, there's a lot going on in Denver.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on in Denver. Of all the gangs that we talked about, which one's your favorite?
Vampires. I mean, come on.
Of course.
What, the
Of course it
Nocturnas? Is it?
Yes, the Nocturnals.
They're cool.
Sorry, Nocturna.
Nocturna. Yeah.
Yeah, Nocturna. Handful of vampires.
I mean, really, that's all.
in
That's all
Denver.
you need, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. They got everything.
Yeah.
Vampires. That's it. That's everything.
Got everything. Vampires. That's literally all you need.
I like the. I was a fan of the. Is it the dam bursters?
The Dam Bursters. Oh, in the fronts gang?
The
The-
greaser gang with the
greaser,
grenades.
The greaser gang with grenades, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
The Dam Bursters. An appropriate name, I think.
yeah. It fits.
I kind of like Durin's sons. Just having fantasy dwarves on motorcycles going around, axes
That's fair.
and hammers. Come on. You know they straight up just pipe the music directly from the Peter Jackson films.
Oh, I assume that they just have like an ancillary group of bikers that are all playing instruments while they ride. What better way than live music, to
Yeah,
really
true.
signal the coming of the Durance Sun?
Right? They might also be that band. What's the name of that band?
Oh,
I
know.
I
I
know what
know.
I'm talking about, right?
I know which one you're talking about.
I don't.
Windrose?
hang on. Yeah, Windrose for dwarf metal.
Yeah, the guys that did Diggy Diggy Hole. If you've
Yeah,
ever
the
heard
Diggy
it.
Diggy
Oh,
Hole.
okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Windrose. That's right. They probably just blast Windrose wherever they go. Because nothing shouts fear into the hearts of your enemies as you hear the revving of motorcycles, and then suddenly, I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole, which is most likely your grave.
True. True.
Do you think that Durin's sons believe that Ghostwalker could potentially be the Calamity Smaug?
I mean, there's no reason not to believe that at this point, to be honest.
or envision him in that light, like they're gonna try and build an army and retake Erebor.
Retake the Spire.
Yeah, retake the Spire. That's right. Oh, that would be funny. We're gonna try and make that a thing. Ooh. Oh, we didn't mention them directly. But we did talk about them when we were talking about the gangs. The Kumango. The Kumango are basically a Sulper ring.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. I think we have successfully covered most of things that you can run into in Denver. If we really want to cover the whole free zone, we can always come back to this. People are interested, we'll gauge, but obviously Denver, Boulder, Colorado Springs being the three most important places that make up the greater Denver plex.
Yeah.
We can hit the other zones and talk about what's important in them if we want. like I said, we can always come back to this.
Yeah.
We'll let our listeners, you know, figure it out and let us know. I think that's the best way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about the free zone? It's not very free, first of
Yeah.
all.
Well,
Uh,
where is
huh?
where is in Shadowrun? Where is free?
Oh, well, hang on. I had
Space.
something for this.
Space.
No, technically no. Technically no. Um, I Africa maybe,
Hmm,
just because just not a whole lot of
Fair.
there's not a whole lot of infrastructure there, and a lot of North Africa was destroyed and given over to the desert wars. So
Hmm.
you
Yeah, I was
know,
gonna say it's mostly just bombed out land from the Corpo battles.
Yeah. I guess that's
yeah, that is
free.
true.
So if you want to go try what you can there, more power
Yeah.
to you.
You know, um, you could always take your chances in the Australian outback.
Nope.
It's free.
True. I guess. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, no corporate presence there. You just have to deal with roving mana storms. That's all,
Well, just move around them.
and all of the dangerous natural predator creatures that live on the island of death, also known as Australia.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, no different than Australia now. So.
well, I was going to say the only difference in the sixth world being that on top of the regular horrible deadly creatures that are normally there, now you have deadly critters that also live there too. So just making it a better place. Would you guys live in Ghostwalker controlled territory? Basically, would you live in the free zone?
I don't know. Corpo living doesn't seem like it's much better, but it does at least seem like there's maybe at least a semblance of more structure to it than
Yeah.
living in a territory entirely controlled by the whims of Ghostwalker that day and how he feels when he woke up.
That is entirely true. Because he just wakes up and is like, I'm gonna destroy some buildings today.
Yeah.
Would be make life a bit more interesting. Not in a good way, but
Yeah, it really keeps you on your toes.
yeah.
There's probably a Ghostwalker report in the morning that goes out
That'd
like a news broadcast. That's almost like a weather report. It's like, all right,
be funny.
in today there is a 50% chance of Ghostwalker destroying a building in this area.
It's just like the running ticker feed on the bottom of any TV channel that you turn it on to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even just the news channel, it's just all channels keep a running feed at all times. So that way you can know how Ghostwalker's feeling that day.
The real dead giveaway would be the sudden buildup of CDF troops.
Right.
That's like, oh, look at the time. Time to get out of here.
Oh, looks like somebody burned their toast this morning.
Did somebody chip a scale? So yeah, that's all I got for Denver. So and the free zone.
Oh.
Obviously, like I said, obviously dive in more. It was nice to hit all the gangs and hear a little bit about Ghostwalker and the stuff that's going on in that area. I will also throw this out as well. If you guys are interested, there is a whole campaign, I guess, that takes place in this uh, Denver area that I have my hands on. That was originally from, well, I think it's made for 6E,
Hmm,
but I could probably work it into Anarchy without much issue.
that's cool.
If you guys were so interested to one day just take it on.
What is the name of that module? Easy.
The name of this module is the third parallel.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Takes place mostly or primarily in the free zone. So lots to think about and digest.
I could see why people would enjoy having Denver be like probably, I mean, definitely like the second most popular in the US region setting to want to be able to run Shadowrun in, is because there's a lot
There is a
there
lot
to already be able to kind of use as your framework for.
There's a whole lot to be able to use. And plus, again, because you're also dealing with more than one Native American territory. Because with Seattle, you just have to worry about the Salish sheet. But in Denver, it's the Salish and the Pueblo. So,
and every other major criminal organization as well under the sun.
Yeah, and all the gangs too. Don't forget all those different gangs.
And all the gangs.
Yeah, that's all I got. Anybody else? You guys want to add anything else?
Vampire gangs are cool. I stand by it.
Yes, I know. I'm aware. Go figure. The guy who got himself turned into a ghoul loves the vampire gang.
Hey man, if I could have got to turn myself into a vampire, I would have. Playing multi-class. Come on.
Wow. All right, you guys. Well, if we don't have anything else, I think we can finally wrap up. We already got our slippery jokes in. So there you go. We said that we would, and we're gonna keep on keeping on with that. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. I hope you have enjoyed the lore that we brought to you this evening. And you know it, here it comes. As always, you guys, we will catch you on the next one.
The Topps Company Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sound, audio, video, and/or any proprietary materials used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company Inc. is granted permission to Critical Hits to use such names, logos, artwork, photographs, sound, audio, video, and/or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its website, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with Critical Hits in any official capacity whatsoever.